the way I got into all of that was I had been writing blog posts. I was trying to get like Chris Coyier of CSS Tricks, you know? The move was I wanted to put ads on a blog and get rich. So I started blogging about like the stuff I knew about, which was web development, and just putting out there sharing what I learned. Um, and that caught attention of kind of a lot of people in the Toronto tech scene. Because at the time, Twitter was just a couple years old, and we used to have these tweet ups, which is so silly when you think about it now. But like we would literally go and party with other people that had Twitter. With like Twitter used to be huge on like geolocation. Every tweet had your geolocation tag to it, so you could just like filter for tweets that were close by. And the first iPhone came out, there's this app called Twinkle. Everybody was twinkling. And I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just blank. Well, are we talking about teaching? Yeah. So I met like lots of people in like the Toronto tech scene, and they a couple of women in the scene were starting up this thing called Ladies Learning Code, and they were like, hey, do you want to come teach one of our first workshops, which was on WordPress? And I thought, okay, like maybe I think I could probably make that work. So I put together like an 8-hour workshop on WordPress, and it was crazy. We had like, I don't know, 60, 70 women come out, and I just like, I've never taught before, but I just like sort of like, this is how I get it in my head. And I just like explained it how I understood it. And a lot of people are like, oh, I really like the way you explain it. And like, your examples are kind of stupid, but it makes sense, you know? And I was like, oh, wow, maybe I like this teaching thing, you know? And then Ladies Learning Code, the people who founded that, they started something like HackerU, which was like early on in like the boot, like one of the like first boot camps. Like I remember meeting with them. They're like, in New York, there's this thing called a boot camp, and it's going to be really big. And what they're doing is they're teaching people to code in 11 weeks or whatever. We want to build one in Toronto. But we're going to start with like part-time classes. So I think for 2 years I did part-time classes on web development. And then they started up the boot camp. I did all the curriculum and taught the very first one of that. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into like teaching in person. And then all while doing that, I was also making YouTube videos and blogging and making my own courses as well.
That's awesome. And just out of curiosity, did you have experience working with WordPress, PHP, and whatnot before you taught the thing?
Yeah. So when I was going through university, I was like, all right, well, I did a bunch of like co-ops, which is like you go work for 6 months at like a bank. I worked at Exxon Mobil. I worked at CIBC, which is a big bank here in Canada. And I was like, this sucks. Like, I do not want to do this. I just want to I want to keep making websites, you know, like I always had been making websites for my friends, but then I was like, I need like a CMS. I didn't even know that's what it was, but WordPress was the one at the moment. So I got really good at WordPress. I did like freelancing, consultancy all through university doing like WordPress stuff. And then by the time I graduated, I just like went full-time freelance. So I had quite a bit. I was very good at WordPress, I would say. But after, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years of doing WordPress, I decided I'm going to go whole hog on this JavaScript thing because I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it looks like Goose's internet died, so that's an RIP. But we'll continue in his absence. Never, like I said before the show, it's like you never know. It never can be just like a good even stream. There's always got to be something that that happens. But continuing on with that, and we'll probably circle back to this, but when you were making your like initial courses and stuff like that, how did you choose like what to do? Was it just something that you found that was like you were really passionate about or something like that? Or you were just like, hey, I see a need that a lot of other people have made this, and I'm going to help them with that.
Like, you're referring to like the courses that I'm building?
Yeah, like the courses that you build. Like, how did you come up with those topics to teach those courses?
It's mostly just stuff that I'm really excited about, mixed with stuff that hits. So like my first course was on Sublime Text, and that was because like I had been like trying to figure out like this blogging thing, and like the YouTube thing, and I was like, all right, I did a couple blog posts on like my favorite Sublime Text tricks, and those did super well. And I just kind of scrambled and threw up a little sign up list and said, I'm writing a book on Sublime Text, and that got like 2,000 signups in like a day, which is nuts. Like that doesn't happen often anymore, where you get that sort of easy runaway success.
Right.
But that worked really well. And then that course I launched, it did very well. And I thought, like, what am I going to do next? And I have all kinds of stuff I'm really excited about, and things I would like to teach other people. So that's like my main thing, is like, what am I excited about? And then the other like part of deciding is teaching in person. I feel like I got a good handle on what people were missing and what they needed. So just like seeing the struggles IRL, I was able to figure out the different types of courses that were needed in that space.
Right. Yeah. And I think the feedback of like that struggle and seeing, and also it helps being very active on like social medias and chronically online, like I'm sure so many of us are, you can kind of get a better picture of being like, oh, okay, they're having an issue with this, or this is the trending framework that's having this issue. So since you have made those great choices of teaching people JavaScript, 500,000 people JavaScript, but is that a confirmed number? Like a 500,000? Do we have that like on the dot, or is that like a heavy estimate?
It's over that by now, which is pretty nuts. But yeah, it's over that. My one course alone, JavaScript 30, which is 30 days of like little JavaScript thing, is over 700,000 people.
Wow.
Like signed up for it and at least taken one video, not necessarily done the whole thing, but it's at least a couple 100,000 people have learned to console log and do a couple loops and click a button with me.
That's still, I think that that 700 that's no small number right there.
Yeah. So
what Goose was going to ask, but while he's working on that internet restoration right now, he would recommend the JavaScript 30 class a lot. And he was telling me about that he would always recommend it for an amazing resource of newer developers. And I can't remember the exact course name, but I think I took that as a course a while ago. So it's because it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And with that, what's your do you have any sort of systematic, oh good, he's joining now. Do you have any sort of like systematic approach to like creating content once you actually decide the topic? And yeah, go dive into that real quick.
So when I decide I'm going to do a course, I decide if it's either going to be like a project base, which is like we build one thing, or it's going to be like individual focus on specific topics. And that really depends on what you're trying to learn.